All right, you guys, Think Bigger Podcast, Community Conversations. I am here with the two gentlemen that make up PRIME NYC.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
Comprised of?
Yes. Edwin Reyes, a.k.a. Yo Ito.
Yo Ito and
Prav,
man, Pravzilla.
Prav, yeah.
Yo, that's dope.
Pravzilla.
Yeah, man, that's dope. So you guys together are the founders of PRIME NYC.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So for a lot of people, they don't understand that this is not a car podcast, right?
Right.
I think a lot of people in the automotive sector naturally just kind of see that
Yeah,
with
for
me,
sure.
and they just,
Right,
it makes sense to them. But
course.
this is not the case, So we have everything from deployed military, housewives,
Yeah.
parents, commuters, Boeing engineers, police
Nice.
officers, guys wrenching on a Sunday. These are the types of people who've given me messages and feedback, and that's how I realize where they are.
That's what's up.
And where they're listening. So
Cool.
whether that be some kind of,
Yeah.
Spotify or Apple Podcast algorithm, I don't know how they even find it, but I'm blessed to have them
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so they're gonna get a feel for what PRIME NYC is.
Sweet.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that. What is PRIME NYC?
In a nutshell, we are trying to build community, right? Not only that, we're trying to be stewards of 90s Japanese tuning. That some younger kids or people today may not be able to experience some of the cars that we've seen during like the late 90s, early 2000s. So we sort of want to shape how cars are being put together in that sort of instance.
Yeah.
So PRIME would be a representation or an exposure to people who don't know otherwise?
Yeah, especially in New York, because one of the things about New York that, sort of is something that at times is not really realized or forgotten about is the fact that we have like a pretty big thriving car culture here.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's not something that sort of like the general public or sort of non-car people know about.
Like outside of the
Yeah.
community bubble?
Right.
Right. Okay.
So, personally, and that's why Prav and I kind of like vibe together is because like, growing up in New York and getting into cars, I've always felt like the culture here is so strong. And when I talk to people that are not from New York, or when I go travel to like, around the world or another country or another state, I'm like, yeah, I'm into cars and I'm from New York. And they're like, oh, people drive in New York? people have cars there?
What?
Really?
So.
But these are people, non-New Yorkers, right?
Yeah, for
You're
sure.
getting somebody from just some other state,
Yeah.
and they're just completely blown away.
Right. I mean, there's also New Yorkers that are very much the same. Like even here, and at my office where we are right now.
Yeah.
People ask me like, "Hey, so what'd you do this weekend?" I'm like, "Oh, I went to a car show. We did an event. We did some photo shoots, and then I'm like, car show."
Oh, they just didn't realize that culture existed.
Exactly.
Understood.
Yeah. So the purpose of PRIME is to sort of not only bring this out into the automotive community, but also sort of expand out of that and get it in front of the eyes of people that aren't necessarily into cars per
Yes.
se.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because like, car culture means a lot to a lot of people, and for some of us it's an escape. For some of us it's an art form.
Right.
And it's something that I think should be appreciated
Right.
Okay.
by tons of people, no
Yeah.
matter if you're into it or not. So that's sort of like the sort of mission statement of PRIME, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Prav, same thing, right?
So
Like-
I mean, even cars, it might be like an underground thing, right? It might be a niche thing. Sometimes in New York, it might be even more underground. So I guess one of our goals is to be able to find these people who share these ideas and in terms of how to build a car, and sort of have them be part of that community. One such example is a friend who I'll mention his name, Andy, who was
sure.
building this REM Mamiya
Sickest thing
FD and doing his own thing in isolation.
Sure.
while blogging on like Minkara. Like
Minkara. It's like a Japanese car blog. You probably heard of it.
Yeah.
Right. Do this,
But
like,
he was going the Minkara route, but not anything local.
Yeah, all by
Exactly.
himself.
On purpose?
No, he had no idea that this stuff existed.
Right.
He was just doing his own thing on his own accord.
So he's in his own world, a fan, decided to use Ari Amamiya stuff to build an FD, and didn't know that there were other people who would appreciate that locally? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh.
Then out of nowhere, he gets photographed by Anthony.
Halcyon.
Halcyon.
I'm like, yo, you see this right here?
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw him, I think, was it Anthony's Instagram or Bulletproof? I think Bulletproof Automotive posted him on Facebook, and I was like, this car's in
Local? Jersey?
in the tri-state?
Oh, you guys didn't know him either?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
No.
And then, because I have I'm really good friends with the Bulletproof guys, Bulletproof Automotive out in California. They posted up photos of his car, and they were like, hey, this guy's out there. And it was like, period correct, RMME RX-7, just like perfect. And I was just like, what the hell? I've never seen this car.
Yeah.
And I'm pissed that you guys didn't even tell me that you guys were building a car. Like,
Yeah.
Bulletproof stickers all over and everything. And then Anthony posts pics of him. And then we went to like a Week Fest, and I caught a glimpse of him in the parking lot just driving by. And, that's just an example of a person that's super into the kind of 90s style of Japanese tuning, and yet was outside of the overall sort of community.
And I think we actually invited him
to
display for like a previous organization we were with, next to another friend, Ted, that he has a yellow FD.
Yeah.
So it looked like a great pair.
Sure.
Right? And ever since then, he's been part of that community.
Yeah.
The yellow FD from Regiment Zero?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Triple OG.
so basically what I'm gathering is that guy, that build, and that world, that bubble that he was in is like a microcosm of what you're trying to prevent in the future. Give people a place to all know about something that cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, it's kind of to give New York and the tri-state area an identity when it comes to this specific style of building cars. You know what I mean?
And that style being what?
Like 90s Japanese JDM tuning.
Okay.
And obviously it's not only limited to 90s. We like Fuchsia and like
VIP.
more modern style, VIP, etc. But our focus. I mean, we're into like a bunch of other cars too, like Euro and things of that nature. But like, at the core, Prime is very much about 90s Japanese style and car culture in the tri-state area. And other parts of the world as well, So we share the same passion. We just kind of click, you know. So, but prior to us sort of starting Prime, the culture was here, but it didn't really have like some sort of like identity. Like we had like local meets and things of that nature, and then we get like, you would have like some group of guys that are really into building a cars a certain way, and then you would have like the ratchet kids doing burnouts and all that.
For sure.
Shit.
Yeah.
So,
that's everywhere.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So it's just kind of like when we put Prime together, we wanted to sort of like have establish sort of like a community of like-minded individuals that is always sort of welcoming to others that want to join.
Yeah.
And for those that are not necessarily knowledgeable about the kind of style that we sort of are into, then we like to sort of help them get up to speed and just sort of like
reach out, talk to someone.
For the premise that you guys are talking about, giving people a feel for the community, to know that they belong to something, it resonates very much with me, because that's principally that's the same thing as the Think Bigger project.
Right.
This podcast, that's what it's about, and I think that premise is a very profound one, because whether it's art or sneaker wear, right? Urban fashion, cars, or whatever, if someone or a group of people, if everyone's going about it thinking of that bigger picture of the community, I think it's inevitable that they can all meet and blend. Right? And that's how you bring styles together.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing, right? So you have, events like, like Tuner Revolution, right? B-Boy competition, VIP, Rotaries,
For
Euro.
sure, for sure.
And so that's one way to bring everyone in one physical place.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be a physical place. You know, Prime is doing it in a mental space, in a digital space,
sure,
right? Where
sure.
people can see your guys' photography,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So photography is a powerful tool. Videography, and you know, like we're talking about Halcyon, shout out to Anthony.
right.
I mean, you see something like that, it gives you
Love
the
that guy.
goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing with a nice still image, but you know, like videos have there's so much more power in that sometimes,
yeah,
man.
For sure.
Yeah,
And then Anthony, Crispy, like all those guys, like we've been doing this thing for years. Like aside from starting Prime, you know, we've just been in this community for like, I don't know, I'm kind of dating myself
10
here,
years?
but
Hey,
many
More than 10
years.
years?
Probably got 20 years.
in a very different capacity,
Yeah.
different capacities, right?
yeah.
So I mean, there's times when I'm the one putting a car together. I'm the one helping someone put a car together,
Yeah.
like bringing a car in, finding the part. I guess now we're at a point where we're not really doing as much for our own thing. Although I have we both have our individual project cars,
Right.
Yeah.
but we're not doing as much on our own. We're sort of like trying to build community, being able to do events, do cool things, bring people out, and have people sort of get to know each other.
Yeah.
Being able to find the resources they need to reach their goal. And oftentimes that goal is to get a car, build a car, do whatever it is that they want to do.
Yeah.
Drift, you know? So with that respect, I think that's our goal in terms of today as well as moving forward.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
totally dig it. Okay, so let's talk about the two pillars,
Yeah.
Prav and Edwin, right?
Yeah.
So Prav, right?
Yeah.
As an individual,
Right.
Right. Born and raised where?
So I was actually born in the Bronx.
Yep.
Lived there for a little bit and grew up in Astoria, Queens.
Yep.
Although I don't live in the same place I was before.
Sure.
I live a couple blocks away, but still Queens.
Yeah.
So Queens, I feel, has its own flavor when it comes to hobbies and collection of things. It usually starts from there, and it's very, I guess, very niche. You know, like when it comes to clothing,
Okay.
the style, how things are, even like how cars are put together within that area, right? So I loved Hondas. Like I grew up with Hondas, right?
Okay, but how? Where? How? If
What do
you
you
go
mean?
back, Queens, you're growing up in different sections, you
So,
move.
right.
How did you get into Hondas in Queens?
Hondas in Queens. Interesting.
Where? Try to find it.
So Astoria has a place called the Strip, right?
Okay.
It's Shore Boulevard, right by what we now call as the RFK. Used to be called Triborough. Around there, people used to just pull up. We'd hang out, see each other's cars. So that was a meetup spot.
Okay, how old were you at this moment, this time?
was probably when I was like 16,
Okay.
17, high school.
So were you geographically close to that
Yeah.
region, and you would just
Yeah.
at some point you were like, oh, look at these cars?
Yeah.
Right?
So I was like, wow, it's really. I mean, the first time I ever saw like a really awesome car was in Thailand, right?
Yes.
I've always loved cars.
Yes.
But
The
to
Thailand
actually-
car scene is crazy.
It's
Crazy.
been.
It is crazy.
Trying to
been-
pull up to Thailand.
Yeah,
serious.
yeah. Absolutely.
I love
I mean, that's the first time, right? Like when I was like probably 10 years old.
Okay,
That's
so there we
on
go.
32.
10, you
Yeah.
go to Thailand,
Yeah, so
and
on
all of a
30
sudden
on
you're like,
32.
whoa, there
Yeah.
are fire cars everywhere.
Yeah.
All right.
I was like, wow, this is nuts.
Yeah.
But of course, I didn't think in terms of modifying cars.
Of course.
It's only in high school that I started doing that. I got like Turbo magazine.
Yep.
Like what? Sports compact car.
Sport
the
compact,
classics, right?
Those are the best, yeah.
And I read those instead of like studying, but you know.
Sure.
Then started messing with cars. Like then Alice VTEC came around, got my first Integra.
Okay.
And that's a wrap.
Okay, so
Right.
so Thailand, whether it be GTRs or anything else,
Yeah.
the whole Japanese styling
Yeah.
is what struck you.
Right.
But then, so that's you're 10,
yeah.
but you're in Queens, 16-ish,
Yeah.
and you just found yourself at the meetup spot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
wasn't just Japanese, specifically, it was
Yeah.
Hondas.
Right. Specifically Hondas.
Okay,
But then they're like, "Hey, you want to go to the races?"
sure.
So I think Edwin can speak more to that because in this area you have a couple of places that are hot, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to races, and
Yeah.
of course we don't advocate racing, but that was something that is inherent in New York's automotive culture.
Sure.
Right? Zariga, DPA, like even like parts of Newark or in Yonkers up by like Central Ave. Those are areas that are like deep into racing.
Yeah.
So we went out there. We watched the races.
Okay, how old are you the first time you go to one of these street races?
Probably high school, 17, 18.
Sure.
I was like, whoa, that's amazing. I was watching these like old starlets.
Yep.
With like rotaries.
Yeah,
like,
man. Yo. Okay, we're gonna get
like,
to that.
So I got spanked first time. Like
Sure.
I'm not like what the hell was I thinking, right?
Yeah.
Like, stupid Integra.
And you went up against a rotary powered starlet?
Maybe something like that. We went to Mexico real quick.
Yeah.
And
and you got walked.
Yeah, got washed.
Yeah.
$300 later. It's like, well, learn my lesson. That's never ever gonna happen again.
Okay.
I was like, okay, cool.
All right. So then that was it. It's at this point in time, full-blown fledged addict.
Yeah.
Right. Magazines, anything you can find.
Loves it.
You're just taking in pictures and knowledge. Okay. What about you? Where did you grow up, and how did you end up into Japanese tuning?
Yeah. So for me, it's a similar story, but for me, so I grew up. I was born and raised in Bronx, New York, and actually still live there.
Yeah.
Love the Bronx. And so for me, it started when I think I was just a kid. I was in Puerto Rico, and I was like 12 years old.
Yeah.
And I didn't even care about cars back then. I was just like, playing like.
Yo, on a side note, the
Atari.
Puerto Rican car scene is vicious.
Crazy.
It's incredible. I love
insane.
it. Sorry, go ahead.
Some of the most passionate people, especially with the rotaries. So anyway, I'm in Puerto Rico. I'm in front of my grandma's house, and my uncle's there, and I'm standing next to this car, and he's like, "You want to drive this?" And I was like, "Okay." And then he's
You're
like,
not really caring.
"Yeah, I don't care. I'm a kid. I'm 12 years old.
So what did he tell you to drive?
It was an old Toyota Corolla 1.8 is what they call it. Yeah. So I'm like, okay,
sure.
So I get in, and like my dad, tells my dad to get in the back seat, and he's like, no, we're not really gonna drive, right? And he's like, no, we're going. Because my dad thought I was just gonna play on the steering wheel or some shit.
Oh, but your uncle's like, no.
Yeah, my uncle's like, yo, yeah, let's go.
And you're how old?
I'm 12.
Okay. All right.
So I'm like, okay. And I'm like, are you sure? And I'm looking at my dad, and my dad's like, nah. And then my uncle's like, yo, do it. So I turned this shit on, and then he's like, all right, let's go. And my dad's like bracing for
stick
dear
shift.
life. No, it wasn't stick shift.
Okay, I was about to say, all right.
Yeah, so what you call it? So yeah, we just drove around the block, drove in the neighborhood and stuff, because like back then, this was like, I don't know, late 80s maybe?
Okay.
Dating myself again. And we're just driving around the neighborhood. There's like no lights, no cops,
Sure,
it's like whatever. And I'm just having the time of my life.
Yeah.
Like I almost crashed into something. He pulled the steering wheel. And I was just like, yo, I love driving.
Sure.
Right? So after that, I really wanted to get my learner's permit and all this other stuff. So I came back to New York, and that was like my focus. 16 years old, I finally get my permit. And then a friend of mine had a 240SX.
Okay.
Actually, it was his mom's car, automatic, but she let him drive it around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, this car's amazing. Let's go for a drive. So we used to just drive around. And then one weekend, very similar, he goes, yo, let's go to races. I'm like, where's the races? What are you talking about?
Okay, how old are you at this point?
This is like 16, 17.
Okay.
Yeah. So we get our permit at 16 out here.
Yep.
So yeah, so I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, whatever. He's like, so I actually had to ask my mom permission because it's like a late night thing.
Of course.
So we go out. It's like a Friday night, and I'm like, where are we going? And he's like, we're going to Hunts Point. And I'm like, where is that?
Yeah.
I'm still, I'm growing up in the Bronx, but I'm like into playing Street Fighter and shit. Like, I'm not going around I'm going to arcades and whatnot. So we go there, and his dad had a shop, and his dad had like an old Fox Body Mustang or whatever, but the mom had the 240. So we go into 240, and we get to Hunts Point, and this is like one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, even till this day. Like, we pull in, and Hunts Point is under like the Bruckner, right? Yeah. So it's like an elevated highway. So you have to go under the elevated highway, and then you get into the industrial area. And once we got into there, there's like this iconic McDonald's that's just like,
everyone.
That's where you go.
Yeah.
That's where you turn into Hunts Point. So you go in there, and there's all warehouse district.
Sure.
And just like literally hundreds and hundreds of tuned cars and people and just, music and all this stuff. Everyone's just chilling outside. It's like that fantasy world that was painted in the movies.
Sure.
But in real life.
Yeah.
But back then it wasn't like body kits, right? It was like
No.
Starlets, Corollas, Fox bodies,
All sorts.
So you just roll into this picture dream world
Yeah.
of cars and people and bridges
Yeah.
and industrial and kind of a raw urban feel.
And everyone's just chilling outside their cars.
Yeah.
You got the music going on. Like, everyone looks dope. You got the hot girls there. And there's all this shit. And I'm just like, damn, this is like amazing.
Yeah.
This is the sickest shit I ever seen.
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
I
yeah.
was just like, all right, this is my life from this point forward.
Right.
And then my friend's like, oh, we're not even at the races yet.
Yeah.
So it's like,
This is just the kick-it spot.
yeah, that's just where everybody goes to chill. So we're like, all right, so let's go to the races. So
Yeah.
then we go further into Hunts Point. And Hunts Point had two like main strips that people raced on. So we went to one of the main strips, and it's literally like this straight road, and for the entire length of the strip, you got cars like parked up.
Yes.
Just like on both sides. And then there's like a line of cars just lining up to race.
Yeah.
At the top end of the strip, and you got a flagger there.
Yeah.
And it was like a 2-lane road, so like the line would go up this way, or one way, and then they would make a U-turn to line up to race.
Preparing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it would just be like a constant cycle.
Sure.
So we pull up, we just park up, and then I'm just watching this all night in
Yeah.
like amazement.
Come back
Just,
like 5 in the morning.
Yeah. Fucking burnouts going on, fucking people just like flagging,
Yeah.
people screaming, all this shit, money runs, all this
Yeah,
stuff.
and cops don't care, right? Back then, because like that area is like
Yeah.
they got
Nobody's there.
other things to do,
There's the only thing that was there was a freaking strip club, and that's
Did
it.
the cops come by and just keep going, or they didn't even come by?
Like, it depended on the night.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So the cops would come and just make everyone scatter.
Okay.
But that's the thing about Hunts Point is that it was so big. That's why they had 2 strips. So when the cops would come to one, people would scatter and just go to the next spot.
Yeah.
Do the same thing, come back,
Yeah.
and all night, the
Sure.
cycle.
Sure.
And then, Prav mentioned earlier, Zariga. So Zariga was another race spot which is relatively close to Hunts Point.
Okay.
It was probably like a 5-6 minute drive, but you would have to get on the Bruckner Expressway to get there.
Okay.
So if Hunts Point ever got too hot, everyone would go to Zariga and just be like fucking racing on the Bruckner,
Yeah.
just like all the way down to Zariga. And then Zariga also had 2 spots, so it was like kind of a similar thing.
Yeah.
It was like a cycle. Cops come here, go to the next spot. Cops come there, go to the next spot. But anyway, so that first night, I just saw like the most amazing sight. Like I can't even just I hope I'm doing it justice by describing it, but
I mean, but your first exposure to it, you were young.
yeah.
And you're talking about how it hit you like a ton of bricks,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So for both of you guys having these 2 different boroughs, 2 different areas, but having this exposure and inclination towards cars already from maybe Thailand, maybe whatever, but the street races and that feel and that vibe hitting you guys, did it make you guys start street racing?
No.
So it was just the environment.
Yeah.
You never wanted to go line up.
That's-
Well, after the first loss,
I mean,
after 300, you were like,
clearly that was not my thing. that was not my thing. So like, all right. So my thing is getting parts. Like I like the hunt.
okay, you mean for like rare parts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I learned at an early age where to find these parts for cheap. Maybe I'll flip them, and once I flip these parts, I'll get something better.
Sure.
So I found Yahoo Auctions super early.
Yeah.
That was like probably.
So what were you using to translate? Babelfish?
So that's the interesting. So that was one of the first things I used. I also had a friend who could read most of the stuff, so
Awesome.
I would send this over, and he'd read it. He had, of course, a Yahoo Auction account because he had a Japanese bank account. So I'll just pay him.
Oh, that's the super dope plug.
Yeah, exactly. He'll auction. He'll put in that bid.
Yeah.
And it's Gucci. Like I get this part. It's like, oh yeah.
So you were snatching up these rarities
Right.
through a homie, easy 1-to-1 transaction.
Yeah. He literally
Yeah.
was sitting next to me.
Dope.
As he
This
was
is what
bidding.
it says. How much are you willing
this
to
is
pay?
college, of course, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, of course, I didn't have that much money back then.
Of course.
But I had these small parts here and there, and I was like, oh yeah, this pretty.
Okay.
It's that rush, right? Like, okay, I got that stupid oil cap I've been wanting forever.
No, dude, the auction model is one reason why eBay is so massive.
Yeah.
Like that feeling of, okay, well, I'm willing to spend this much,
Yeah.
but wait a minute, they're trying to beat me by $5. I'm not gonna let that go. And you keep fighting each other.
That ego comes up. It's like, I cannot lose by
Yeah.
$3.
Yeah. The auction model is powerful, right? So it got you hooked.
Yeah.
You got your Japanese homie.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
helping you, and you were able to
Yeah,
start
that was an
snagging
addiction.
him up.
That was, even when I didn't need it, I was still.
Yo, look, I have homies to this day that buy parts for cars they don't even own.
Right.
They're like, one day I'm gonna have this chassis and I'm gonna
Right.
be able to build the most fire one. And I'm like, you've been collecting parts for that for 9 years. You got a down payment to a house, bro. I don't know. When I get it, whenever I get it,
Yeah.
you know, it's gonna be fire. You
Yeah,
know?
so like I have this 280Z that I picked up maybe last year.
Yeah.
So before I even got the car, because I was looking for a 280 for a while.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find something clean and within my budget.
Yeah.
But I ordered so many parts for it already. Like I had like all these parts laying around. So like I guess now, like in retrospect, I should have like not done that. But
Fair enough.
It's always been like an itch, you know. Like I get the parts and you get super motivated, and at some point you're like you put it on, it's like oh, it's so good. When I put together the LS, same with the walled kit.
Yeah.
I wanted a classic walled look. I found the walled wheel, the Duchatelets.
Yeah.
I found the walled lip kit. I threw it all together once I got the car, you know. But I got all that stuff before I got the car.
You look, man. I mean, look, like I get it, right?
Yeah.
So for me and what I've found with other people is they're builders that actually have more fun sourcing,
Yeah.
designing, and building a
Accumulating.
car
Yeah.
than actually driving it.
Right,
And
right.
that's a very difficult thing for some people to embrace because
Yeah.
you know that archaic ideology of
Yeah.
if you don't drive your car, it's wasted.
Right.
And I
right.
think, I was actually talked about that in the previous episode.
Yeah.
You know, the one entitled "I Did Not Build a Honda Prelude."
Okay.
Because everyone says that, and I'm like, that is the most, albeit maybe inadvertent. It is the most small-minded, tunneled
Yeah.
way of looking at it. The art of designing a car,
Yeah,
or if you're trying to do a catalog build of a discontinued part series. That the search
Yeah.
and finding everything, and once you put it together, you feel complete.
Right.
And I think people are like, well, why don't you fire it up and race it or drive it? Or you're like, how about you mind your own
Yeah,
and let
yeah.
me appreciate
Yeah.
this thing that I've assembled.
Yeah.
You
When
know?
you build your own 240SX,
Yeah.
how about you drive it, right?
So that's kind of a thing, you know, like you have the track guys,
Yeah.
right? Whether they be time attack, road course, or drag guys who are like, oh, you don't race your car, so they kind of, it's like elitist, right?
Right.
Like, oh, you don't use it, so
Yeah.
who cares, right?
Right, yeah.
And then you have the show scene where there are guys
Mm-hmm.
who they want to show it off, right?
Right,
That's
right.
why car shows even exist,
Right,
because
right, sure.
people want to show their cars.
Right.
But then you have this whole world of people that don't want to own that they want to win a car show.
Yeah.
So they're like, no, I build it for me, but then they're mad salty if they don't win. You're like, come on, man. If you want to win, own that. You got to own that.
We know quite
We
a
don't
few
go with
people
people
like
like
that.
that.
No. If you want to win a car show, my whole thing is own that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
and then it'll be okay if you
Yeah,
get mad
yeah.
about it. People are like, my man's really wants to win.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you're like, I'm
They
only
don't-
built for me, I just
Yeah.
do me, and then
Yeah.
you're mad as shit
Yeah.
if you get third. You're like, that's
People always
not.
flip-flopping,
Fuck out of
man.
here.
Yeah, you got. That's what I'm saying. Like whatever it is, you got to own that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If you just love sourcing the parts and maybe putting it together a car, and once you've assembled it, you're like,
Yeah.
I'm completely content. And then I know people that have done that and then parted out a
Yeah.
whole car.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're like, they open their garage door, they turn on the light, and they're like, my soul and my loins are tingling. I'm happy, and it's not even
Yeah.
really necessary
Right,
to
right.
go drive it.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
like, it's this image.
Yeah.
I've had it obsessed about
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
head for a month, a year, 10 years. It's complete. I'm happy. On to the next one.
Yeah.
Right.
So like I think there's like many facets in terms of being an enthusiast,
Yeah.
right? You have people who feel like they have to photograph every single car,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
It's like it's almost like a serial killer type of thing. Where they gotta take photos of
every car,
Right.
every angle.
Right.
You know,
You mean from like an event coverage?
Just
enthusiast as a automotive enthusiast,
Okay.
right? You have people who love to hunt down these parts.
Yes.
Some people love making these small parts. from scratch on
Yeah.
their
Yeah,
own.
exactly.
The garage building guys,
Right. Some people have the money and it's like, okay, build me
They
this.
just get
Yeah.
the top catalog and they're like, just slap it on, let's go.
All that, right? Some
Yeah.
people love taking their thing to the track and basically ruining their car.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
And it's totally
what they wanna
cool.
do.
That's what they want to do.
Right.
That's how they enjoy cars. you
So,
know?
however people like that part of their life, that facet,
Yeah.
I think there's certain aspects where we have to respect that.
Yes.
For sure.
Whether if they're not driving it, hey, they have their reason.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a
Right.
show car. Maybe it's just a straight track
A
car.
collector item.
Right. Collect
Like the
item.
people who knew what was going to happen with Japanese classics.
Right.
Imagine if the guy who was like, I really believe that 280Zs are going to go up in value.
Right.
Or I really believe that an NSX is going to go up in value.
Yeah.
I don't know when, but I believe
Starting.
that it's going to happen. Imagine if that person was the type to be like, dude, everyone says I don't drive my NSX, so I'm going to just drive it.
Right.
And then they went from probably getting 140,000 for their 92 now to getting 40.
Right.
Because they drove it,
Right.
right? And then imagine that they're gonna look back and be like, I knew it was gonna go up. I bought it cheap and was gonna let it sit, but because the forums
Yeah.
and Instagram told me that I'm not
Yeah.
driving it, I drove it and I just lost $100,000, which is not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
That's literally what happened
Yeah.
for the people that did that,
Yeah.
right? If you have a pristine Z, you're gonna get massive numbers for it.
Yeah.
Now look at what ITRs are going
Yeah.
for. CRXs are going for 30 grand.
Yeah,
right?
I saw that the other day.
Right,
I was
so
like,
crazy.
so there you go, right?
Wow.
You know, you have this the real life appreciation for these Japanese classics is it's there,
Yeah.
and it's gonna grow.
Right,
I'm
right.
afraid to see what
Yeah.
the next series of
I
numbers are.
know.
It's gonna be crazy.
Nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like-
man! Some dude's
wait.
gonna pull out a CRX or I don't know, an 88 HF or something,
yeah.
right? And it's gonna get like 50 grand, and you're like, yo, that car was $6,200 when you bought it, and you just got 50 racks off that.
yeah.
It's gonna happen,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But see, there you go. You touched on something really important, man. And I think that many people, when they hear you say it, you know, they'll be like, oh yeah. But if you actually look at the way people are, they're not accepting of that. Because when somebody says, I just want to, you know, piece it together. I just want to draw it out and make a real car out of this drawing in my head or on paper. And people do this one type of thing. They're always the people who are like, oh, that's a waste, right? Especially if you're not racing it or driving it, right? But you're right. It's not one or two things. Right? The community is comprised of, just like there isn't just race cars or just show cars. You have VIP, you have Bozozoku, which is a combination of, well, look at the Japanese. Bozo is about the wildest shit on planet Earth. And they drive it.
Yeah.
It's got a 16-foot
Wildest
front
shit.
lip, and they're just driving it. Right?
Fucking like,
And then on the next extreme, you got the guys who will have a Lambo, and they'll put it on crazy LED lights and slam it to the ground, and you're just like, wait a minute. In all intents and purposes, that's wrong, right?
yeah.
That guy's wrong,
Yeah.
but yet they're doing it,
Yeah.
and people are here doing it, and that's very important. I think that you touched on something really important. The community is a very large thing,
Right,
and
right,
people try to force it down. There's too many age groups and styles that the providing an environment, trying to foster an environment of acceptance
Right.
and intelligence is crucial.
Yeah.
Because too many people, even sometimes I think accidentally, are they're overly critical and they compartmentalize, right? They end up categorizing someone, and that person ends up feeling like they can't fit in. And for what? They love cars just as much as the next
That's
man.
kind of one of the reasons why going back to why we started Prime, is because like we want to. There's people out there that want to sort of join, you know, a particular style or some sort of like medium, like they want to race or drift or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, you're trying to jump into the pool, but you're kind of scared. You don't know if you're going to do it the right way. You don't know if you're going to look cool. You know, so it's just like, you know, if we happen to sort of come across you, and you know, or not just Prav, but anybody in the community, it's more of like an acceptance thing. It's like, hey, so what are you into? You like this, whatever? And then, you know, and then we might introduce them to somebody that has built a car like that in the past, or talk about a notable car like in Japan or around the country that was built in that style, and sort of just get that conversation going, and then sort of like it's also sort of establish a open-mindedness
Yes,
about car culture.
Good.
Because there's so many different facets, even in the niche culture that is like Japanese car culture, right? You got, like you said earlier, the Bozozoku guys, the Lambos, the VIP guys, the drift guys, the street drift guys. Like, there's so many different types of facets. So it's like, I'd be like, yeah, I love drift cars, but I'm not an expert. Here's some blogs that I follow that are super dope about, drift cars in Japan. Here's like Shorts Tucked In. Here's Noriaro. Here's a bunch of other, sort of outlets that you can use to sort of gain that knowledge and sort of like inspire you to sort of like.
And also to bring it back to Prime, like the showcase for us is the street.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
the rawest. It's the rawest part of having a car. It's meant for the street.
Yeah.
It's not meant for a show. It's not meant for a track, really. So we love to be able to see some of these show cars or track cars on the street. So that's why we always have our events as part of a very inclusive sort of nature.
Yeah.
Right? So we've had some purists who did not want, for example, Seven's Day, right?
Okay.
There are purists out there who do not want any other car to be there.
At Seven's Day. Sure.
Right? I understand that position. Absolutely understand.
Because it's 7/7 to celebrate Seven's Day.
Right,
Sure.
right.
For sure.
But I also, these people, you don't know in the future, they may want an ARC-7. They might be trying to understand more about rotaries.
Yeah.
Right? I'm forever trying to understand about rotaries and how to make it reliable so that one day I'll eventually get one.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, that's something we'll always try to have, where we have inclusion within our events.
Right.
But of course, there's always a standard, but also at some point, we also want to have a safe event where these individuals, we know that they're responsible. They're always included within our events.
Yes.
Right? So Street Icon, something we've done in the past, Seventh Day, a whole bunch of other, events, but these are things that we always like to include for our street showcase.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to play the devil's advocate, right? So you have an event, which, by the way, from someone across the country, and I haven't had a chance to be here on that date, so I've never been able to experience it, but I follow all of the coverage.
Oh, thanks, man.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's the reason why I'm sitting here with you guys, because a lot of the tenets of what you're talking about resonate with me very deeply, because I care very much about the culture as a whole, right?
Absolutely.
The geography of it is far lower on the list of factors than I think people even realize to me, because the culture, there is no geography to that, right? I mean, yes, Japan and US and all that stuff, but I mean, as far as human beings
it's all
that have that's irrelevant,
absolutely.
especially in the day and age of the internet,
For sure.
where we can all, one person who's sitting next to Halcyon while he's editing is going to have the same experience as the guy across the globe who watches the final product, right? So it's an amazing thing. I mean, the power of the internet it's impossible to overstate that, right? So anyways, you have something like Seven's Day, which is a fantastic event. I love it. When I see the photos, I'm just like, yo, I'm going to be at one. It's just a matter of making that happen. It's going to happen, bro.
Yeah,
it's going to happen. But my point is, you see it, you brought it up. Sevens, dude, the RX-7 guys, right? They of any generation, they want it to be sevens. Okay, and it's understandable, right? And you're just like, but yo, this person who might be driving a stock car or a GTR or whatever he's in or she's in, you can't really exclude them per se, because they might be wanting to get an RX-7. Sure. Okay, fair enough.
I might even own an RX-7.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And you just sure,
Right.
okay, and I get that. What would you say to the people who are like, bro, this person, and you know damn well they're just here to get in photographs?
To just flex.
You know
flex.
damn well
The
that
clout.
they know the coverage that
clout.
this particular event gets, and they're just here to crash it. What do you say to? How do you differentiate on a personal level, as you as Prav? How do you decide, or do you decide how to even wade through those types of waters?
Isn't that like a sense of like prejudice at some point? Like assuming that this person will be doing this? I mean, at some point, aren't we all... at some point, like, whether you have an RX-7 or a Skyline, you're there to see some photographs, right?
Yeah.
Like, we can't deny there is that, like, a part of us that likes the cars in photographs. right? So it's the same. It's whether it's the FD or the Skyline.
Yeah.
They both want the same goal. They want the photographs, but we also understand that these people, it's a street event to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, you
right?
cruise through Times Square. How
Right.
are you supposed to stop a car that's not an RX-7
Right.
from getting in there?
Right. So that's the rawness and nature of that event. If it's something that's enclosed, maybe.
Sure.
But I think we've sworn to not do events as it like.
Oh yeah, we've had some stories there.
Yeah.
And well, now is the time. I would like to hear a couple of
Yeah,
them.
I just doing car shows is I have tons of respect for anyone who does a car show.
Who organizes?
No. I have lots of respect for someone who can do it.
Well, do it well. yeah.
Anyone can do it.
Anyone
point.
and everyone does do it. There's
Yeah.
events all over the damn place.
Someone who, you got Tuner Revolution, First Class Fitment, Weekfest, like these sort of pillars
Yes.
of the car show scene.
Yes.
Tons of respect for those guys.
Yes. And then you have
And then
the others.
You have the others, and actually, Joey from Sticky Diljo, he put a great article up the other day talking about these sort of like, what do you call them, like cookie cutter shows or something?
Yeah,
Sure,
something like
sure.
that.
And there's tons of those out there where they'll preach about how they want to bring the community together and support everyone and
But
blah
pay
blah
me.
blah. But my entrance fee is $100, okay? And no free passengers, right? And it's just like, somehow those people sort of thrive and exist or whatever. But we have some experience with like trying to put a show together and try to collaborate with folks that sort of had done shows in the past.
Yes.
And, that all just kind of like didn't work out at all. It was just disaster basically. So actually probably one of the worst days of my life, to be honest. So from that point, I was just like, okay, I am never
doing that again.
ever doing a car show again, as far as organizing it.
Sure.
Because it's such a challenge. So when these guys
There's
do
a
it
lot involved.
and do it well,
Yeah.
it's just like, and the thing is like people don't even realize this stuff. Like
The back end work,
the people that go to the shows, some of the competitors. When they start, like, if they don't win, they get salty. They don't understand
Judging.
all the stuff that happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Like you got to get the spot, you got to get the union costs, insurance,
insurance,
etc.
sure.
all the
Front the
stuff.
money.
Get front the money, bring the staff. There's so much stuff that goes into that, and nobody sees it. They're just like, I'm at Week Fest. It's cool. I mean, I think it was better than last year, but whatever. It's like sure, on a surface level, there's that, but like, there's just so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
That it's just like, dude, I'm gonna leave this to the professionals.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a quick second. So you have these shows, and then the quote unquote cookie cutter ones, right? But yet, right in the midst of that article, right, and any other ones, because people have touched on that before. That's not a new
For
thing,
sure,
right?
yeah.
But here you go. Why do you guys believe that those that fall under the category of the cookie cutter, the shitty ones, there's no vetting process, it's just as many cars as they can get, why do you believe that thrives? Because it very much does. Why? Why do you believe that people are willing to do it
I think
and pay it and support it?
I think at the very sort of root level, people want to just do something, right? So
Okay.
so people that are not really sort of well versed in, let's say, the culture of tuning a car,
Okay.
right? They're just like, oh yeah, I bought some wheels, I threw some lights on my car, I want to go to a car show.
Yeah.
And there's like, that's the majority.
Yeah, by volume,
tons
for
of people
sure.
out there. They want to, customize their car in their own way, et cetera, et cetera. And then they sort of build their own image as to like how a car culture or car community is. And a lot of those sort of, for lack of a better word, cookie cutter shows, they kind of like market to those folks. You
Yes.
know, they're just like, all right, this is a car show. You're in.
Mm-hmm.
Come be part of the coolest thing ever, the biggest show ever. And then folks are just like, yeah, I want to go to a car show. I want to have some fun. And, to be honest, they're probably having a great time. They're probably just, and more power to them. They can have fun. But, it's just one of those things where it's just like, is this actually something that's going to sort of build into something that has a little bit more of a meaningful impact on somebody's life?
Yes.
Or is it just like, yeah, I just did this for a couple Saturdays and I'm never coming back again, and I'm going to sell my car and get like a daily or something.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's sort of like the sort of, from my perspective, the sort of difference. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm no expert in, I guess, human psychology, but I think what it really boils down to is like, one, that acceptance, wanting acceptance, and two, narcissism, right? Our own narcissism, right? Like, I'll be honest, like, so one...
Oh, it's totally true.
Right. So on the one hand, and it feeds the other, right? You have one part where you want to be accepted, right? So at some point, you want to be accepted into this community, and maybe a car show, for some people, that's their acceptance, right? Why is there a second-class fitment, right? Like, I mean, some people are
the guys that can't get
in. They get, like, they don't get the approval, and they're like, oh, crap, I didn't get in, you know? And they're angry. So that feeds into that narcissism, right? Yeah. We want to see photos of ourselves, for sure, of our cars, right? And I'm trying to keep it real here, but I think those two really are the driving forces for these cookie-cutter shows. These, you know? And in some ways, in the future, if other shows come around, it'll still be the same thing. Yeah. You know, like 10 years from now, these cookie cutter shows will still be around.
They'll still be there, or there'll be another version of it.
Right.
Oh, yeah, man. And they're actually probably making more than all of us combined.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's even transferred over into Instagram, right? You got these like repost blogs that just take every viral car video ever. They'll say, hey, tag 10 friends. Isn't this crazy?
Yeah.
Buy our shirts and stickers, by the way. And then they'll buy like 10,000 million followers. And they'll be
or taking photographers' images.
Yeah.
Cropping out or just straight out brushing over the watermark.
We had that happen to us.
Oh, all the time.
An Instagram account.
Yes.
Stole our photo from our Street Icons event.
Yeah.
They put that shit on a t-shirt and started selling it. And then we were like, some people started tagging us like, yo, what's good with this shirt, bro? So then like all this chaos started happening because you know how Instagram is. People like to pop off. Yeah. And then, you know, I mean, this is a tri-state area. People don't play that shit. So we saw that, and many people in the community just like called it out, like, yo, you guys stealing our shit? Yeah. And you making money off of our stuff? Yeah. What's good? Yeah. And then, you know, things were settled, but it's just that sort of mentality. It's just like, okay, people like cars. Yeah. I'm going to build something to make money off of this.
Yeah, okay. So to touch on that, does that company or person or account or whatever still exist?
Yeah, it's still around.
Yeah. Okay, but that shirt stopped because people were like, you better stop that shit? Or
I think they paid out to that photographer.
What ended up happening was they purchased his image, and they
so we'd advocate. We tried to advocate for that person who photographed for us. For sure. Right?
Yeah.
That's something that we'd always try to extend. And of course, I'm trying to keep it real. So like I'll call him out, and he's like, hey, let's talk. And of course they're angry now. They're angry that I'm calling them out. Right. I'm like, no shit. What do you think is gonna happen?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna take this.
Slide. Yeah, you stole a photo.
They'll never notice I'm taking this kind of shit. It's like, bro. Yes.
All right. So that company, that account's still there.
Yeah, still around.
All right. And so that particular scenario got settled.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. And that's just a mini version of these car shows, right? They take a formula, but they'll accept anything.
Right.
And the anything is by volume the majority.
Right.
So you have 4, 5, 7, 1,000 cars in a parking lot, right?
Yeah.
So so how about this? You have the event that will allow any type or tier or style or shit to be in a car show. Mm-hmm. And then you have the quote unquote upper echelon events, vetted, filtered. Right. You have to be accepted, right? 2, 3, 500, right? Well, maybe even a little bit less, right? Just a few hundred of the best cars in a convention center, right? So you have that up here and everything in between, right? How do you think that we, as the older generation, the people who care more about quality and execution, details, how do you think that we can help, if we can, to educate other individuals, younger or not, to have more critical thinking skills and to care more about long-term execution and build quality rather than short-term narcissism, attention, and followers. Is there a way? And if there is, what do you think it is?
I think that's really hard given the climate, today's climate, because of Instagram, because of Facebook. I feel like that instant gratification of likes or what have you perpetuates this build a car for one season, sell it, get something new, you know?
Yeah, I also think it's not just a car culture thing. It's just culture in general, like subcultures in general. They all have a very similar problem, and I don't even know if it's a problem, to be honest. It's just a common behavior where you have, like, for example, I'm really into electronic music as well, and you have like these two factions. You have the people that are really into the artists and how they construct their music.
Yes.
And, you know, what their sort of like mission is and what they're trying to communicate and what kind of feelings they're trying to get out of you. And then you got the EDM crowd, you know, the people that are just want to go to the show, want to
go to the festival,
get the festival. Yeah, exactly. They just want to be seen with crazy costumes.
Yeah.
So that's like the masses, right?
Okay.
So, like, you know, on both sides of the spectrum, people are enjoying themselves.
Okay.
But it's just, you know, there's only going to be a few people from the masses that might convert over to the folks that, you know, are a little bit more into the deeper side of things when it comes to their subculture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, you know, going back to the rotaries, right? Like, there's a lot of guys that really like OEM look of an RX-7.
Yes.
Right? Like, you know, it has to be pure.
Yeah, the FD body's so perfect. Don't mess it up. Don't put rivets. Yep.
But personally, I love an RX-7 that has an REM EMEA AC037 Porsche front end. You know, full like wide body kit, full rear tail light conversion, everything.
You like that?
I love it.
Okay.
But that's not my flavor, though. Right?
Yeah.
But that's
sure.
I respect
that you just said that because I hate it. I personally
so that's great.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't hate that you hate it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I also appreciate the stock body lines too.
Right.
So
but I mean, like, for me, the perfect example would be like feed. You put some feed
great.
arrow and you're just like, it's a good compliment, right? But there you go. Like, it isn't like, oh, you did the Porsche front end, you fucked your car up, right? No. It's like, I wouldn't do that, but I can dig that you did it.
Yeah.
For me, you know, and this is going into like what I'm into. I'm super into like JDM style. You know what I mean? So when it comes to like that sort of 90s bubble era JDM, like, you know, race on the Wangan type of style of cars. Yeah. You know, the smoky Nagata, the RE Amamiya style cars. Like, I love that. I totally resonate with that and connect to that a little bit more. So, you know, I used to, what was it, speedoptions.com back in the day? They used to post up all the Tokyo Auto Salon pics. And the first thing I wanted to see was the Veilside kit. I'm like, what's the crazy shit they're going to build this year?
You know what's funny that you just brought that up because...
You see what AB...
So you guys are in my head right now because I was just about to use a Mark IV Supra as the example, and I was about to bring up Veilside and AB Flug because the first time, so Veilside had that crazy front bumper that whether it was on an Integra or a Civic,
the Shogun kit,
Shogun.
But what I'm saying is like Veilside on those cars did not try to match body lines. It was Veilside's body lines, and you put it on the car. You know, you had a sloping hood, and all of a sudden it was like ba 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 ba. Right, the front bumper was crazy. Yeah. But then Veilside did the Fortune wide body on a Supra, and it was like, holy shit. Or the AB Flug wide body, which was buff and chiseled. Those crazy lines. Yeah. And I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, yo, either of those kits in their own right was crazy. But then I saw the Veilside kit for an NSX, and I was like, why would you do those headlights? So it's like, you know, each one just kind of threw me off. But in a good way and in a bad way. Right. But if somebody rolled up in a Veilside wide-bodied NSX, I'm like, I don't like those taillights or those headlights, but I respect that you were able to source that, and you decided to do it to your NSX. Right? And the style's so crazy. Like, the first time I saw an AB Flug Super in real life, I'm pretty sure that I drooled.
Yeah,
I was a kid, and I rolled up and I was like, holy fuck, because I'd seen it in a magazine, right? But like you said, there's people, the purists, A Mark
Yeah.
IV Supra, Gracer front lip, and
That's it.
OE
Done.
wing. And if you anything else, you're really
Or
just
maybe-
messing it up.
Done.
And if you're feeling, raunchy, maybe a TRD wing or something.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
Feel a little
it.
extra today.
That's it. No,
It's like, I don't know, like outside of like Supras, for example,
Yeah.
you can get like the Euro glass like headlights.
yeah.
Even then, somebody like, no, I gotta have the USDM one.
Yes.
It's like,
Dude, the first time I saw the back of a Supra and it had the angular exhaust,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
coming out, and the sound, I was like, I must have that.
Yeah.
yeah.
To this day, still haven't gotten it.
No.
But I saw the first
Yeah,
time
yeah.
you always see the tip pointing at you.
Right.
First time I was behind the
Pause.
Supra. Wow, I wasn't ready for that.
Just joking,
But I
just
just saw the
joking.
way
Watch out.
they routed it, and it was the HKS,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was just coming out at a 45-degree angle, and then this particular
Yeah.
Supra was obviously modified
Right.
when I heard the note,
Yeah,
and I was hooked. But I was a kid; I couldn't afford any of it.
Yeah.
But to this day, man, it just those cars, RX-7s,
Yeah.
man, there's a tone.
Yeah, it's-
Each
similar-
one has its own tone.
Similar
you know?
to the SW20 MR2
Yeah,
exhaust.
man.
that type
Right.
of thing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so it's just a different sort of mindset when it comes to,
Thing.
how you want to do something or educating somebody into doing something in a certain way. Because just because I like it doesn't necessarily
Right.
mean it's the right way to do it.
Of course.
Maybe you want to do it your way, but this is what I like.
And also, we're not saying we're all knowing either.
No.
I feel as though we're also learning, right?
Yes.
For
like,
sure.
We are not only trying to help people, but we're also learning as we're going along,
Yeah.
right? I think that's the most important part. When people preach, when people say that they're educating people, I feel like that's like almost top down, right?
Right.
And I think for us, it's not like that whatsoever because we're learning also.
Yeah.
This person who's been at this, I don't know, putting together like an R32 or something for the last 8 years, even 4 years or whatever, can probably teach us a couple of things about cam timing or something about
Yes,
the
yes,
RV.
yes.
Or like, so these are things that we are open to also.
Yeah.
We love to be able to learn. I think as enthusiasts, we have to be able to be lifelong learners
Right.
when it comes to like cars.
As with anything in
Yeah,
life,
yeah,
man.
absolutely.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. But okay, so you know how we were talking about earlier about the whole, narcissism and
Yeah.
acceptance, right? Okay, so acceptance is a very innate, natural human inclination to feel loved and accepted.
Sure.
Right.
I get that, right? But narcissism, right? Clout chasing, which is the more urban contemporary way of saying it, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second because, like I said earlier, I always want to hold people accountable, right?
Right.
And they should hold themselves. Forget me. You need to hold yourself accountable. And if you are in it for the attention, own that shit, right? Just say I'm building my car as bright and as low and as loud and as wide as I can because it gets the most attention. Don't try to justify it to the community and to yourself that you're trying to design new geometry and push the boundary. Shut up.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Just say that you want it to break necks.
Yeah.
But
That's it.
nobody wants to really say that.
Yeah.
But look, let's talk about an event that has turned into a cult, crazy phenomenon
I know where this is
of swarming narcissism
Yeah, yeah.
and sheer debauchery.
Yeah.
And we're talking about
H2O.
H2O. Okay, so you guys peep, right? I'm from California, but I've been a photojournalist and I've written for Super Street and Importuner and Modified and Honda Tuning. So I put my vein on the culture in a much more broad way. I think a little bit before maybe other people.
Right.
Forums, though, you would just be introduced to people's builds. Whoever was taking photos and had a point and shoot,
Right.
and they could upload to Flickr or Photo Bucket, and they were able to host it, and then all that world, right? Okay, fine. But the first time, as I was a Honda guy too, right? But the first time I was given the opportunity to write for, let's say, Importuner, it wasn't a Honda. So, this is, 10, 12, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You have to study and learn.
to break away
so,
from that.
So it gave me the opportunity, and even though it still made me want to build my own cars, I was able to, in an academic fashion, much less in an artistic fashion, appreciate VIP cars and race cars and drift cars years ago, right? So I've been able to appreciate that in a way that I think other people inadvertently kind of get stuck in their bubble, right? You have to keep that open mind, and
Right.
you have to do so in life consciously, because if you don't, it's easy to get in a tunnel, right? So I've been able to appreciate things, and so paying attention to the global, but just the whole East-West thing, whether because of hip hop or because of whatever, it's always been a little bit more accentuated than it really needed to be.
Right.
Because like I said, the geography is sort of irrelevant. It just so happens that you guys are in a place where for about 2.5 months out of the year, you go kind of car crazy because you've been frozen for, for a while, right?
Yeah.
So, in California, we have the climate in which race and
all
show
year
season is about 11.5 months out of the year
crazy.
because it barely rains and snows, right?
Yeah.
And you guys over here have these times where you got about 2 months to go wild, right? Like the Chicago heads, they have about 2 months, and other than that, the cars are in a
garage,
ice cube,
Yeah.
So for me, it was a little bit more natural to start focusing on builds regardless of where they are. So out here, I've always known that the drag racing scene was crazy. I used to drag race. I used to go to the street races on the West Coast in Cali when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's a very similar story.
Sure.
You roll up and cars are lined up and there's like super fine ass women with their gangster boyfriends, and you're rolling through and you're just like I want to be that, right? And no matter what it was, right? But I always knew that the Ricans out here were building wild ass rotary cars for like the last 30 years, right? They've been doing it, and then obviously you're shipping them back and forth, and then Florida not having emissions, so guys are doing to this day wildness out there. So I'm over in California, pretty much the worst state to be in for emissions and DOT.
And now gas.
Yeah, the gas thing I'm so used to, but like even DOT, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about glass versus plastic headlights, JDM headlights, and if they want to give you a DOT ticket, because like that doesn't have alignment nipples, on EG6, right?
Yeah.
US headlight, glass, nipples, right? Japanese headlight, plastic, flat, and there have been cops who are like, that's not legal. If they really want to, crash bars, subframes, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's why if you're gonna bring a car in, that's why you bring it into Jersey or Florida. You don't bring it into California. Registering it in California is drama. It's just drama. So I've always kind of appreciated in a certain way what you guys have had going on out here, and more in the last 5-7 years, I've been able to experience it because I've been starting to work with various event series that are like Tuna Revolution, which in 2019 has 10 stops. Right.
Wow.
Only one of them is Southern California. So that's now 9 cities outside of where I'm from that I get to live and breathe the culture with the locals, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And then I work with an event series in the UK. So I've gone to London 3 times this year, Belgium, Germany, the Nürburgring.
Is it MIMS?
Yeah, MIMS. So I get to see them, the people that you would see on Instagram or forums back in the day.
Right.
And I'm there shaking their hands and getting to experience it. Because nothing beats, like right now I get to sit here with you guys. I could have scheduled a call. We could have done this exact thing on the phone. But it's better to be able to sit with you guys in New York, right? And be able to have this conversation.
You don't get that same energy.
Exactly,
Totally agree.
So for me, I've been able to have my hand on the pulse of the culture as an individual enthusiast, as a journalist, and as a person who has very similar goals as far as opening arms wide and bringing everyone together, because it's not about who's elitist, who's racing, and who's not, and you're a show car, you don't daily drive.
Yeah.
I hate that.
It's just
It's so much broader and more profound than that, right? Because it can it can be a way to really bring people together.
That's what it's all about. At the end of the day.
Whether it's look at streetwear, right? Some of them swear that it's about community. But it's the most you can't sit with us thing I've ever seen, right? There are certain groups that try to act like, but they're like that. Automotive world is just, there's a lot of elitist grouping, right? And it's great to see people talking about how they want to help shatter those walls.
Oh, yeah,
It's important, So it's really great to see the premise and the energy from you guys as 2 automotive enthusiasts that came together to create Prime, right? So you have Queens and you have Bronx.
Yes.
So I actually want to touch on that. How is it Queens Japanese automotive enthusiasts, Bronx automotive enthusiasts? How do you guys find each other? How did you guys become acquainted and then
Prav
become friends? Yeah.
I remember this actually. It was so before Prime, I was part of another organization.
Okay.
And we had an event for the JDM
RCs
drift
yeah,
cars.
yeah,
Okay.
And this was up in Yonkers, I think, or New Rochelle.
New Rock City.
Yeah, New Rock City. So we went there, and we were just there or whatever. And then I started talking to Prav, and I was just like, "Hey,
just randomly,
Yeah,
like he's just an enthusiast there with
He
you."
was just standing next to me.
Sure.
So I was like, "Hey, what's up, man? Are you into cars and stuff?" And
Yeah.
it's just like, "Yeah." And then we just got to talking, and then at one point, I think I mentioned that I went to Japan and I went to Auto Salon and all this other stuff. And you're like, "Yeah, I've been there. I did that." Like,
Cool stuff. Yeah.
and that was like the first time I ever met another person in New York who went that far.
Sure.
Who went to Japan, who went to you went to Germany or something?
Yeah.
You did all this stuff already.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, this guy actually, because he actually knows what he's talking about. Because some of the people that I was hanging out with, I was the guy. That was like into JDM and like super specific stuff and have been to Japan and did all this other stuff. Like, so people would always ask me this stuff. And then when I met Prav, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn from this guy.
Okay, word.
Because he's done all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's the first person I ever met that actually, we can talk on the same wavelength or whatever.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, it just kind of like we did meets and shows and.
So you said that here it is, a person who's been to these far regions is into things, and I can learn from them.
Right.
Which is ironic because for a living you teach.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so were you a teacher or professor at the time he met you? Or were you working towards being that academically or what?
I was actually teaching high school at that time. So I was a high school biology teacher.
Biology.
But with my I don't think I wanted to teach him anything, but I think not that I
just inadvertently.
Sure.
But I think it was
You're
just
who's this guy?
I think it was just
Teachers do shit. Get out of here.
I think it was just a mutual conversation, right? I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
This guy actually has been there too.
Yeah,
and so of course, I'm one of those weird dudes who I'll try to say something wrong to see if he'll catch me. I don't think you caught that, but you actually corrected me, which is okay, cool.
So you were testing him.
I was like, yo, you're bullshit. I was like, cool.
You were testing him.
You said you were there I think 2 years ago, and it just so happens I was there 2 years ago.
Oh,
I don't remember what it was, but I remember just testing to see if you're bullshitting. I was like, okay, he wasn't bullshitting.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
I can totally mess with this guy. It's
yeah,
cool.
we could have totally.
Oh,
knocked
you didn't
their
even know that
friends
he did
off. No,
that.
it's the first time I heard
I
about this.
see.
But as a Queens kid, that's what you do, right?
I see. You want to make sure that they're not full of it.
Yeah. It's like, yo, if that's true, I'm walking away.
Okay, so you passed the low key test. All right.
And here
so
we
you
are.
guys became friends, right?
Yeah,
so you were high school biology, but obviously super
In
deep in the
cars,
cars, and then you end up working into an upper echelon of academia, right? So what do you teach now?
So as of right now, I teach education policy
In the context of
science education. So what I do is I prepare teachers for the classroom.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. On what level are they teaching?
So that would be high school.
High school.
Those teachers would go out into high school bio. Yeah.
Okay, and then you have evolved from attending the braces to now being a staff member at the world famous
Yes, the
New York Times.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
what is the title at the New York Times?
My current title is engineering manager.
Okay, and what does that entail?
Engineering manager is basically we work on the tech side of things. So we're responsible for building the websites and the ads and the sort of managing all of the data and things of that nature. And then we work really closely with a lot of the sort of graphics team here to sort of bring some of these projects to life. So a lot of times somebody in the graphic world, it doesn't necessarily understand how the technology works.
Yes.
And my background is both in graphic design and technology.
Yes.
So I actually started at this company as a graphic designer.
Yeah.
And then sort of moved into the engineering world because I sort of saw this sort of gap where some of the designers weren't really understanding where the developers were coming from and vice versa, and they were just clashing all the time.
It sounds like engineers and mechanics.
Basically, right? So I'm just all right. I just kind of ended up falling into this place where I could take what both sides were talking about and sort of have both pieces fit properly
Yes.
without having any sort of clashes.
Yes.
Which allowed us to be more productive, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. I can get into the corporate talk, but so yeah, I've been here for a long time. It's probably like 8.5 years or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, it kind of dabbled on a lot of different things.
No,
but-
you know what I think is amazing about that? In two different ways, you guys are able to kind of be in control of very, very profoundly important things. So, one, you're educating teachers who are then going to educate youth. And you, albeit a little bit more on the technical side of things,
Right.
you are in control of a segment of information dissemination
Sure.
that is, I mean, you could have the most vital piece of information, but if it's not presented in a way that someone wants to digest,
Yeah.
they're gonna skip it.
Right.
So in ways, you guys are in touch of information and in control of how information reaches people, and that is majorly powerful. It's important, man.
For sure.
That people embrace the profundity of what you guys do in these very different ways.
Yeah,
You know?
it's a very interesting sort of place to be because you know, we also have generational thought processes, right?
Yeah.
So you have folks that are like, you know, straight out of college. You have folks that have been working here for 30 years.
Yes.
And the thought process of both is something that you need to sort of, you know, pay attention to and understand how somebody is going to absorb a certain piece of information or a certain way that somebody said something. You know, for one person, this could be totally fine, but for another person, they will be offended and say, "Hey,
Yes.
why are you trying to say it?"
Yes.
You know, so my role is sort of making sure that those lines are sort of managed and
Yeah.
and understanding that, you know, everyone has different needs outside from their skill set.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
just their
yes.
thought process and their career goals and et cetera, et cetera.
You know, while some people need a huge amount of context to be able to do their job,
Yes.
some people you have to compartmentalize almost and just have them focus on just these couple of tasks or work areas. And at some point, they'll eventually move on
Yeah.
and be able to work together as a larger group.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from just teaching, I also have to do research requirements that utilize that sort of area.
Yeah.
So compartmentalization. So a group of 3 people would maybe work on a project, then the group of 3 people work on another project. So they'll work on these individual projects for like maybe a couple of months. Then we'll move on to phase 2. Now we're merging those 2 sort of end products.
Yes.
To move on to the next phase, right?
Yeah.
So those are things that we have to think about. And I think that has a lot to do with like cars also, right? Like if you're putting a car together, you have like, you know, your engine builder, engine person, then you have your body people,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But at some point, it's going to have to converge. you
Yes.
know? And that's something that takes planning. And I think a lot of what we do in our day jobs or day things, we sort of also funnel into car stuff.
Yes.
You know, especially when dealing with Prime. We're putting together like this award for first class fitment, and we've been sort of utilizing some of our I guess everyday things that we do where Edwin does most of the graphics work.
Yeah.
And I can actually I'll physically get this done, you know.
Yes.
So these are things that I guess we utilize on a regular basis.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so the amount of subject matter that we've touched on, scratching the surface.
Yeah.
But it's amazing to be able to be with you guys as someone from across the country.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
sit here and get a feel from native New Yorkers and have such geographic separation, but the love of the automotive culture
For sure.
and the inclination to help bring people together and
Yeah.
educate them in a both principle fashion and literal. Like there's literal knowledge to learn,
Sure,
and then
sure,
there's
sure.
concepts.
Right.
And critical thinking it's scary to me how that's dwindling. And,
Oh,
and
for
we
sure,
need to
man.
help stimulate people to be able to think for themselves. You give them concepts and they can do something with it
Yeah.
versus giving them, one of the key things I always say is the Think Bigger project is not about telling people what to think. It's about teaching them how to think. And then they can go and draw their own conclusions and build their own world, And it's great that you guys are like trying to, like you said, be stewards
Yeah,
and foster an environment.
It's there's also these like sort of stereotypes that we're trying to get rid of.
Sure.
So, for example, car people, right? We like cars, we like to drive, and then you come across a police, and everyone's like, "F the police! Oh, these guys, they are trying to get me down." All this crap. Right?
Yeah.
And that's also a bit of a stereotype. It's like, when we do our events and we come across, our events are completely raw, right?
Okay.
So it is attend at your own risk.
Sure.
The cops are going to be there for sure.
Yeah.
Just don't act up.
Yes.
That's why, it's kind of like an honor system, a sort of trusted
Yes.
sort of network of people that invite people in.
Yes.
But so recently we had it was actually not our event. It was Central's pregame event, which is the organization that we used to be a part of.
Okay.
But there was an incident where the police showed up.
Yes.
And, initially everyone's always like, "Oh my God, what the hell's going on?"
Okay.
And, the cop, he got out of the car.
Yes.
Walks over to the guy, and he walks out of the car really aggressive, and he's just like, "Whose car is this?" And he points to this R32.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "Mine?" Like, he just raises his hand, and he walks up to the cop walks up to him, like, and everyone's like, "Oh shit, this guy, some shit's about to go down," right? And he goes and he just puts his hand out. And he's like, "Nice car, man!"
Yeah.
And then everyone started applauding and like enjoying that, right? So I'm seeing all this stuff happen, and I really enjoy like putting up Instagram stories with context.
Sure. Sure.
So I'm seeing all this stuff happen, and it's not just like, obviously there's a bunch of sick ass cars there and everything, but just seeing that scene happen, I was actually like moved to myself, because I'm like, these cops are like real people. They like cars too.
Yeah.
They're just doing their jobs. Obviously we're not supposed to be here, but it's not something that we should be entitled about, you know? So they come out, they shake hands, they enjoy, and he actually put a siren on, and everyone started cheering. Which is the craziest shit I've ever seen. Yeah. So I recorded this and I put it up on my Instagram, on the Prime Instagram, and I was like, the cops showed up. They put their sirens on, and everyone cheered for them. Right? Yeah. You guys stop falling into the stereotype of cops hate us, we hate cops. Mm-hmm. Because some of us are cops. Yeah. Some of us in the scene are cops. And the same thing happened in Sevens Day. We did an event. We were up in Harlem, which is an OG spot. Yeah, which was used to be organized. Well, it still is, right? Yeah. Oh, you met him last week.
You were there,
Rob. V Race Works.
Yeah, I know Rob. Yeah.
So that area.
Yeah, by Dinosaur.
Right. Yeah. So that area.
2 years ago when I was out here, I was over there too.
Oh, nice. That's
so I love the arches and the feel of that end area. It's dope.
So we did Sevens Day, and we went over there, and it was like the craziest shit I've ever seen. So packed, right? And cop pulls up. Yeah. People are freaking out.
Paddy wagon.
Yeah. Right? This freaking guy, he takes out his speaker, he takes out his phone, and he starts playing Fast and Furious theme song.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just funny.
Yeah,
it was like,
hilarious.
This guy just wants everybody to leave. Yeah, he's not going to give tickets. It's just like funny, you know? So like, he gets it, you know what I mean? So like the stereotype of like, we hate cops and all this other stuff. Yeah. Like that's another thing that is just something that we need to sort of change. Using the podcast now, think bigger about, right?
Yeah, absolutely,
like,
man.
Get over it. It's not, the cops don't hate you. We don't hate them. If you're acting like
people,
a dick,
man, we're all people.
Obviously they're gonna pull you over.
Yeah.
So just act grown.
No, you know what? The other night, man, I was out in Harlem. Yeah. And people are parking, and you also end up having to double park a little bit.
For sure.
And so we're out there hanging out, and when it wasn't an officer, but I don't know what the proper term. I don't want to call them the meter maid, the enforcement. The parking enforcement guy.
Traffic cop. Yeah.
Well, he wasn't a cop.
Oh, okay.
But like traffic a city dude. So he rolls up, and then everyone's like, ah, shit, So it's the guys who are double parked without even the hazards on. Mm-hmm. So a couple of them pull out, and the guy hops out of his city vehicle, and he comes over. He's like, hey, what are you guys doing here, right? Yeah. And a couple of us, we're gonna go eat at Dinosaur Barbecue, right? Oh, okay, no problem. You guys doing some kind of meat or something? And we're just like, do we say yes? Yeah. Do we say no? Yeah, we're just hanging out until we go eat. And he was just like, nah, man, I have an SI with a K-swap, man. I'm a car guy and I'm a Honda guy. These are some beautiful Hondas. And we were like, hey, we're gonna start cheering and clapping. And he stopped for a little bit, and there you go, right? Yeah. If you're immediately like, oh man, fucking leave us alone. We're just here, mind your own business. Yeah. You'd never know that he's a fan.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the sort of thought process that I think the younger generation, or even not even young, like the newer or people that are newly into cars need to sort of start thinking outside of the uniform.
Yes.
And think about the person in there.
They're
right?
people. We're people.
So it's just like, if you get pulled over, and be like, hey, are you into cars? Like, just try to make a connection with them. And then going back to what we were talking about earlier with H2O, right?
Yeah.
So we're out there, and I did the same thing with the Instagram, because we rented a house, and this is my first time H2O.
Okay.
Prav's
I've
last
been
time
there in
was
10 years. This
10
is
years ago.
before Stance, when it's mostly Euro.
Yeah.
And back, my friends always told me every year, come. And I'm like, I ain't going to that shit, get out of here. So this year, I don't know why, but for some reason, I really wanted to go.
But I felt it. It was like, this is going to be the last year it's going to pop off.
So, I feel like H2O is one of those places that is sort of like, a congregation of people that, both get it and for lack of a better word, don't get it and just want to act up.
Yeah.
So, we rented a house that was like kind of far from all this stuff.
Yeah.
Suddenly the ratchet stuff starts happening right in front of our house.
Just incidentally?
Because it's the baby strip, right? So we were on Baltimore Boulevard, which is described as the baby strip.
Yeah.
So while the cops were like busy taking
main
care
strip.
of the main
strip,
strip,
yeah.
these dudes are doing ratchet stuff right in front of our house.
Yeah. And like, so I while we're having a barbecue with like some of the sickest freaking cars and the whole shit, we come out to the front of cars to see this stuff. So I start recording all this, and then I'm just looking at it on my phone, and I'm like, what are these people getting out of this?
Yeah.
Like what is the gratification of seeing cars do burnouts and these shitty cars and just like well, I mean, for lack of a better word, shitty cars. But they're just like just acting up for no reason. They had this sort of mob mentality.
Yeah,
started,
it's narcissistic mob mentality.
But everyone's got their phone out, and everyone wants to get that video
Yes.
that's gonna give them those likes and
Yes,
that clout.
yes.
And that's sort of
That
like
viral-
the society that we live in right now, right? But these cops are out there busting their ass all weekend. And these people have like a lack of regard for the people that live there, and the cops. They just want to like, flex and do all this crazy shit and have fun, quote unquote, at the expense of all these other people. And then what ends up happening is
We're paying the price for it.
Yeah, because they associate us with them.
It's perpetuating stereotypes, man.
Yeah.
So the interesting, going back to culture, it's a very interesting thing because not only do we reproduce culture, but we also have agency in changing culture. Right. So it's very dialectic. It's both reproducing and also changing. So in this case, you have these guys kind of reproducing that sort of same stereotype, while we're trying to sort of change that. It's always a hard situation.
So like I said, I've been acquainted with people out here for a long time. I followed the U.S. scene. So I heard about this event years ago, a little bit around the time when it was still a Euro-ish kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then I watched it turn into, the videos and pictures of people getting pulled over for solely their stance or their camber.
Right.
And then next thing you know, last year the police officer hitting somebody, and then this year people running over each other.
We saw people get tased.
Yes.
We saw the pepper spray.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw. This is the crazy shit. Another crazy shit I've ever seen. So after this ratchet shit started happening, like I saw like a motorcade of police cars coming down Baltimore.
Oh, that was bananas. Yeah.
There were like 40, like this is 3 lanes across, right? And like 40 cop cars just like pushing everybody out. It was like military style, like curfew shit.
Yeah.
And like I was like, yo,
Felt it.
this is crazy shit, man. Like this is like
That's
they're shutting down the city out here.
It's like that show of force that ultra militarization.
Keep
police
it up
force.
and we'll fucking tear gas the whole
That
city.
shit was
Yeah.
also- And then they started pulling up on people because people were standing on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And they were like, get off of the sidewalk, get back on your property. And they were like grouping up on people and pushing. I got all this stuff on video. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm like putting all this stuff up, and then I put on Instagram like, yo, y'all need to calm down, seriously. Like, you like cars, you like to have a good time, but calm down.
Yeah.
What are you gonna get out of this?
Yeah,
You're gonna
go-
look at this video on your phone, then delete it 2 days later, and be like, oh, that's it.
Go eat some crabs.
Calm down.
Go play mini golf.
We're at the beach out here,
Yeah.
for fuck's sake. Calm down.
Yeah.
Just relax. And then 2 days later, I posted up the whole sort of like sequence of things that occurred as well. And it's just like, guys, I know you want to have fun, but from the perspective of Prime, respect yourself, respect the police, respect the locals, and just chill, enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
And the thing is, H2O, right? It's my first time there. We were there from Friday to Sunday. When I got there, I was hyped.
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday, I thought it was the sickest shit ever.
Yeah.
And like I heard about all these like burnouts and whatnot, but we were on the strip, all these sick ass cars driving around, we know them. Yeah. And I was having the time of my life. I was like, what the hell? What are people talking about?
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Then you found
and
out.
And
then I go outside.
The ratchetry starts.
And then it was funny because I was like using this kind of ratchet theme on the Instagram, so I was calling it like Ratchet Con, Ratchet the Gathering, the Ratchet World Championship Nationals and all this stuff, just to kind of like give it a little bit more of a sarcastic tone, but also to sort of acknowledge that this is ridiculous.
Yes.
Like, these guys did burnouts, bus passed, people are banging on the bus goes away, there's a fight suddenly that happens in front of me. These guys are beating this dude up, then they run away, cop comes, arrests the guy that was getting beat up.
Yeah.
Then I turn around, I see this fucking motorcade, but in front of the motorcade is a fucking Fast and Furious replica Eclipse, the green one, the Paul Walker shit, and I'm just like,
what is going on?
Is this a fucking acid trip right now? Like, what the hell's going on here? So that's like a H2O in a nutshell, But then there's people seem only to record like this ratchet shit. There's a lot of dope ass shit happening there too.
Sure.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure. But I mean, the calm, simple, classy behavior it's not going to get the attention.
It's not going to go viral.
It's not going to go viral,
Yeah. But, I think that's sort of like just a reality of culture in general.
Okay. So, let's put it down to one question. Are you guys going to go back to H2O?
I'm not. I won't be going back.
Prav is not going back. Edwin.
I am not going back.
I'm not going to say... I'm never going to say never, but...
I'll go back to Ocean City.
Yeah, Ocean City for sure.
The same weekend as H2O.
Right.
Okay.
Because that initial feeling, because there's a lot of guys that are local that go there all the time.
Yes.
Like Anthony, for example, Cozile, Sebastian, all these guys that are like, these are like, for lack of a better word, they kind of became sort of like figureheads in their own way.
Oh yeah.
And super humble, super chill dudes.
Dude, Cozile, man. Yeah, dude, Sebastian. Look
guy.
at how young Sebastian is. He's killing it, dude.
I mean, and some of these guys have been going there for years, and they keep going back, So there's something special there.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, and I saw that, like, that day, the Friday that we got there.
The good side of it, right?
And that Saturday morning, like we had a meet, and our friends from Japan, these two guys.
Yeah, I saw your guys' post about the meet,
And we had a meet, and they were having a good time or whatever. And then we just all, like, as a squad, went to the Can I Beat meet.
Yeah.
And then on the way there, on the other side of the strip, we saw, like, Sebastian and all these other guys. And that feeling is really cool. It's like, shit, like, it's right there.
Yeah.
Like, everyone that you always, like, see at a car show or at a meet, everyone's there.
Yeah.
And they're all driving. And it's, like, it's so dope, Like, it's such a feeling of, like, camaraderie.
And community, man.
Community, right. And, like, literally everyone who was there had the same passion, right?
Yeah.
We stayed at, we stayed with the Tough Club in, like, the Tough House.
Yeah.
And we had a barbecue,
Tough
right?
House.
We had a great barbecue. We had a good time. A couple of people rolled through.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was such amazing times,
dope.
But I hate to say it, like, when we went out cruising that night, a couple of other friends came by. Nas, with his, like, Active Red 34 from Prime Motorsports.
So good.
Spooned Out S2000, Anthracite Supra. We were just cruising.
US spec,
US spec 6-speed.
6-speed, Targa.
Targa, right. And we were out having...
the Blitz...
but we were having a great time. But at every light, they were like, do something. Meanwhile, there's a cop right around the corner. I'm like, are you trying to instigate and get these people in trouble?
What do you mean do something?
Like
Do
do
something.
I'm
like two-step or burn out or something? How about you just wait for the light to turn green? How about that?
Right, I mean, all these guys are older, right?
Yeah, and so they didn't do anything.
They're like, fuck off. Like,
Yeah.
And Nas
Oh, you're talking about people on the street or like, hey, do something. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
do something.
And they're like, nah,
They all got
good.
their phones out,
Yeah,
and
right.
then Nas is in the LS, and
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
like yelling at these dudes. He's like, "What you talking about? You don't see these 10,000 cops out here talking about? Let me see you do something. What's wrong with you?"
Right.
And these
Yeah,
guys
that's
are like,
funny.
"Well, I didn't mean to say it like this." Like, man, get out of here. What the
That's
fuck is
funny,
wrong with
man.
you?
That's
It was,
funny.
It was like hilarious in the car, but it's like you look at these guys that were asking everyone to do something.
kids.
That's the first time anyone ever clapped
Yeah,
back and
yeah,
said,
yeah.
"Are you fucking crazy?"
Yeah.
Look at how dumb you sound right now, bro. Like, I'm gonna do something for your Instagram story
Yeah.
and then get my car impounded. Like,
Yeah.
get out of here.
Look, man, it's funny that you say that, right? Because, I host the IBOC meet.
Yeah.
It
Nice.
just happened,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
in
yeah.
Jersey. And there was a gentleman there who had come from Ocean City.
Nice.
So he did H2O before he came to the IBOC.
Ocean City to iBox.
Yeah.
No, he did not, because I cut that shit off. The IBOC meet does not roll like that. It's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
simple and
For
classy
sure.
and small. And he didn't act like that. He didn't act like that. But what I'm saying is I was asking him about it. He was telling me the stories. And he was just like, it was the greatest experience of my life. That's what he said. And I was like, yo, tell me. And he's describing very similar stories.
Yeah.
And he was like, he was genuinely like boiling over with enthusiasm. He was like, I will do that every year for the rest of my life.
so-
Off the same description where you just said,
Yeah.
where's the intelligence and maturity?
Yeah.
His conclusion was, that's the greatest experience of my life. And I don't necessarily like to do the age thing.
Right.
But I think it's more than just a coincidence
Yeah.
that his age indicates that particular type of
right,
conclusion.
right.
And our age and other people's age is like, I'm probably never going to be anywhere near that place. It was cool once, but I'll watch that online. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how does age tie in? And because chronological maturity and age, they don't necessarily come hand in hand. But what do you think it is about a younger person that loves the debauchery and the tire smoke and the two-stepping and the sirens?
I mean,
what is that?
Let's be real here, right? Like 10, 15 years ago, I think we kind of did the same stuff also, right? We
Yeah.
didn't really think about consequences.
Okay.
When I think about my car, I didn't think, oh, that could possibly be a down payment on my apartment.
Fair enough.
Or like, right?
Fair enough.
So that's just something, maybe, like that's
It's just a simple matter of phasing of where they are in life.
for sure.
Okay.
Right. So I think in many ways, like that sort of mindset, that thought, that not thinking of consequences sort of rolls through. You're with your friends, you get hyped. You lose that, oh, I need to be on my best behavior because I represent like these other people. I'm not trying to get a ticket. I'm not trying to get impounded. Maybe that mindset, that thought doesn't really happen. you know?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think youth is, somebody gave us a great Instagram response to the stories that we were posting out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to that guy.
Shout out to him. He said, and this is a quote.
Yeah.
He said, "Youth is wasted on the young,"
Yeah.
and it's very profound because it's a quote that a young person might hear and say, "Yo, fuck you, man! You know what you're talking about." And then like an older person or a more mature person would totally realize that like, yeah, I had all that time and all I did was fuck around, So it's something that is just it's sort of like part of life and part of your upbringing, It's like I'm pretty sure eventually, a large population of those ratchet kids are gonna be like, nah, I ain't doing that shit.
Sure.
You know what I
Sure.
mean?
So it's a phase. It's just something to grow from or learn
phase
from.
is part of it, but it's also like who you surround yourself with.
Sure.
Like there's plenty of young people in the community in New York that we're trying to put together. That are for no other reason. If it's age, they should be doing that shit too. But they're not doing that.
Yeah.
They're actually pretty mature about it, and they seek knowledge and they work hard for their builds and things of that nature. So I definitely think it's definitely it depends on the upbringing and the sort of like culture that you sort of grow up on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It could also be a sense of privilege, right? Like, I mean, not to be like, socially conscious here, but it could be privilege, right? These kids who come from well-off homes, maybe, right? They don't see cops as people who are gonna like put them in jail or hurt them. They're supposed to be protecting them, right?
Yeah.
So in some ways, they could be, hey, I've gotten away with this before. I've gotten away with this in my hometown.
Right.
I can do this here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know what it is. Like, it could be mindset. It could be how they perceive themselves, how they see the police, the authority.
Yeah.
How they want to be seen in front of their peers.
Yeah. And the funny thing is as much as I agree with everything you just said, I think there are some younger youths that would say, yeah, man, it's all that. And other ones would be like, man, you guys overanalyze the shit out of it. We're just having fun.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
And we
That
were
can
all
be it
there.
too. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Like,
But you know what, man? Look, like you guys said, phasing, age, maturity, experience, it's all of that is the tiers and levels and blocks that make up the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by creating and working towards creating an environment of education and acceptance, it can help bridge that.
Yeah.
Because there's a very big disconnect, And the younger generation, I think, feels ostracized by the older, groups of people who end up coming across finger waggy. Right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing
Don't do
that.
that.
Yeah, you're
You
and they
kids.
just end up feeling like they're being preached at,
Right.
and the kids are like, "Fuck you."
Yeah,
Right.
And even if you have something good, they've now written you off.
Right.
Right. So I think it's great that you guys are working on. There's so many ways. There's not one way, and everyone can. If everyone's working together, I feel like. One becomes two, and two becomes 10, and 10 becomes 100.
For sure.
And you just go from there, like with anything, So I think it's great, whether it be quality photography, content on your guys' IG, individual and collective, things like that is a great way, because I think photography is a way that bridges a lot of gaps.
Yeah,
Somebody who doesn't know anything is going to look like, this photo is fire.
Right.
Who? Let me see this watermark. What's that? Click on it. Who's tagged in it? So I think that's cool. So on that note, individually, where can the listeners find you guys? So Ed, how can they find you? Where can they find you?
I mean, I have my personal account, which
Yeah.
is yo_Ito on Instagram. And when I'm not posting there, I'm posting up on the PRIMENYC.co account on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prav?
Personal account would be Pravzilla, PRAVZILLA.
Yeah.
And you can always find Prime articles on our website,
Right.
PrimeNYC.co.
We did do a
Kinda
couple
old
of
No, I dig it.
guest articles. Like we did, we actually published a few articles on Speed Hunters recently.
Yep.
So if you want to check those
Yeah.
out as well.
Yeah, that's talk about a mega automotive blog.
Yeah.
I was like floored when.
Yeah, man.
they
You know
let
what,
us
dude?
do
See,
that.
there you go. I think it's amazing. I feel like I could sit with you guys for hours.
For sure, absolutely.
And like I said, being able to be here we are in the iconic New York Times building. I'm
right.
in the New York Times with you guys in the heart of the city, NY.
Times Square.
I'm here as an enthusiast, as a fan amongst all thing else, the culture. So to see people who love the culture as much as I do, who want to bring people together, it's really an honor to have you guys of this type of like-mindedness, and I think that we can reach a lot of people together.
Absolutely.
Definitely, man. Definitely,
So
yeah.
I feel like part 2 and 3. I intend to.
I'm down, man. Let's go.
I intend to come back out here to the east.
Yeah.
And be with you guys.
Always welcome.
The culture, the community, as often as I can.
Seventh Day, 2020.
Hey,
Let's go.
don't fucking play with me. Don't play. It's definitely something that that event looks epic.
Yeah.
And I'm down. But New York, different boroughs, but all one culture.
Yeah, for sure.
West to east, east to west. We get to sit here together. The community conversations branch of the podcast is all about having a conversation with members of the community,
Right.
Yeah.
and learning not just about you guys, but learning from you guys.
Gotcha.
We all can teach each other something. Any age group, in any direction, people just have to be open-minded.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what it's about. So you guys have shared a wealth of stories and knowledge and years of growth.
Right.
And I appreciate you guys.
Also, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for being here. For those of you listening on channels in which you can't comment, such as like maybe Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I'll tag on Instagram. There'll be a post specifically. I will tag them individually and Prime specifically. YouTube, same thing. It'll all be in the caption, the website. You guys can see their photojournalism, content, etc. So thank you guys for listening. Think Bigger Podcast. You too. Thank you very much.
Thanks so
See
much.
you guys in the street.
Hey,
Yeah.
Prime
Out
NYC,
here.
man. Yay.